My mother was a very determined woman. She wanted me to play the piano. I had a natural aptitude. I wasn't a boy of genius. I had a fair amount of talent. I just had an aptitude for playing the piano. And, of course, she visualized me as being another Paderewski, or, as perhaps people today have forgotten Paderewski, as another Arthur Rubinstein. Well, of course, I was nothing of the sort. I really wasted many years by not really working properly, and I found that I hadn't got the iron determination that it takes to be a solo pianist. You know, the loneliness of the long-distance runner. I lacked the brilliant technical virtuosity, the marvelous flair for Fingerfertigkeit, gymnastics. I hadn't got this, but I worked away to some extent until I came one day on some songs of Schubert, the Winterreise, Winter's Journey, Die schöne Müllerin, the Fair Maid of the Mill. And I fell in love with these, and I wanted to do these. I wanted to spend my life playing this sort of music.
Was there ever any feeling in your mind that as a soloist you could have been a very good soloist, but that as an accompanist you could have reached the very pinnacle?
I think that there is something in what you say. I wouldn't have got to the pinnacle as a soloist, but I did feel that there was more chance. In many ways, I'll be frank, in some ways anyway, the hill that the accompanist has to climb is not quite so massive as the one that the virtuoso pianist has to climb. But there is a tremendous joy in accompanying. This is what I loved, you see. I know I said that the virtuoso pianist has a lonely furrow to plough, and of course the accompanist has to work tremendously hard and a great deal by himself, but he knows at the end it's going to be a partnership, and it's this love of partnership which has obsessed me all my life, all my professional life.
One of the things you've done is to transform not merely the art of the accompanist, but the standing of the accompanist. His name used to appear in just very small print at the bottom of the poster. When do you think the breakthrough came? Or did you gradually begin to establish yourself?
I think it was gradual. I would say that it was my recording which did a tremendous lot to make my name known. You see, I've been recording since 1920 or 1921, and this has been a tremendous part of my career, recording has. I learned a tremendous lot from recording because I was able to listen to myself, especially when modern recording came in. The old recording, of course, was just a slap-happy affair. You just tried to play the right notes, and that's all there was to it. You just banged as hard as you could, and everybody was happy. Whether it was a lullaby or not, you just banged as hard as you could, and that was quite sufficient. Everybody thought you were wonderful. But, of course, when the microphone came in, you had to listen very critically to yourself. And there, I must say, I found a tremendous lot of my playing left much to be desired. But I would say that this was the one of the things which established my name. This and the fact that I, if I may say so without being offensive, charged a little more than anybody else, which always impresses people. I know this is stupid, but it had a psychological effect. Then I was very much against the accompanist being self-effacing. And I felt that the accompanist must be proud of his job, and which so many of them haven't been. They've been too modest and too retiring. The job is too important. There's too much color in it, too much variety in it, too much responsibility in it to be self-effacing.
You once likened the old position of the accompanist to that of the caddy carrying the bag for the golfer. And that, of course, one of the things you changed. But did you have any difficulty in impressing this point of view on singers who obviously couldn't have had any idea of this and had never thought of this before? Was it difficult to make them see that the accompanist is an equal, a partner?
I wouldn't have dared as a young man to say it to a singer. They wouldn't have re-engaged me. You see, when I first started in 1920, 1921, singers would have objected violently to the idea of an equal partnership. Even if they got 90% of the fee, the idea that it was a musical partnership would have been obnoxious to them. Oh no, they didn't like that. It had to be done very gradually. And without being unkind to the singers of those days, there were many singers in those days who were not good musicians. I mean, that I played for in the early 1920s. They had good voices, and that was all. They hadn't been musically very well educated. They had commercially successful careers because they had good voices. Of course, they were the good artists, as I found when I came in contact with John Coates. But today, you see, the singer is a very different animal. I mean, today, the singer has to be a tremendously accomplished artist. He has to be able to sing opera. He has to be able to give recitals. He has to be able to sing the old music of Monteverdi and Palestrina and Bach. He has to be able to sing Bartok, Benjamin Britten, Hindemith. He has to be able to sing in 5 or 6 languages. Oh no, the singer today is a considerable artist.
Can we talk, and you're obviously in a perfect position to be able to answer this, since you've played for them all, about the different problems posed for an accompanist by, respectively, a singer and an instrumentalist, and indeed the differences between different instruments, say the violin and the cello. Now, each of these is an entirely different musical expression. You have accompanied them all. What are the particular problems that this poses for you?
Primarily, the problem posed is balance. When you're accompanying a singer, of course I'm not alluding to a gramophone record or radio, but when you're accompanying a singer at a concert, the accompanist is responsible for the balance. If the voice is too little supported by the piano, it's a bad balance. If the piano is drowning the singer, and singers for some reason or other do seem to object to being drowned, then it's again a faulty balance. And if the listener in the auditorium hears these two voices of the singer and the piano in equal quantity, they're hearing a perfect balance. And of course on the stage this is very, very difficult, because you get a false balance on the stage, and very often the accompanist will be playing on the platform without hearing the singer's voice so perfectly as the people in the audience will hear it, because of this false balance. So that the accompanist finds this a very serious problem. But so far as unanimity with the singer is concerned, this is easier than with the violin or the cello, because so often you have the words to help you. For instance, suppose I were accompanying somebody in that old song which John McCormick used to sing, "Since first I saw your face." You see, these consonants tell you exactly when the singer is coming onto the vowel, and the accompanist's chord or note or whatever it is he's playing with the singer must synchronize with the vowel, not with the consonant. You don't say since, you say since. It must come on the vowel I, you see. First I saw your face. It's on the A that you've got to synchronize with the singer. But you see, you get a very good warning with these consonants very often. You don't get this with the violin or with the cello. And therefore, very much more rehearsing is necessary with the violinist or the cellist in that respect. But the balance, when you're playing with the violin or with the cello, is shared. Because very often, and this is outrageous to a lot of people, the piano has the tune, and the violin or the cello accompanies the piano. People think this is terrible. Absolutely terrible, but it is true. And the violin will stand more tone, more weight from the piano than the cello will. So you've got to readjust yourself again. Your standards vary with these two different instruments quite a lot.
You have so transformed the position of the accompanist that you have, in a sense, made it much easier for someone to start in that profession today. So what advice would you give to a young man or a young woman who is determined to succeed today playing the piano as an accompanist?
Well, first of all, not to be modest, not to be self-effacing, but to be proud of the part you've got to play. Try and make it as important as you can. It's no compliment for the accompanist at the end of a recital program for the singer to say to him, "You must have been good tonight because I didn't notice you." You should inspire the singer, not only by your playing, but by the spirit that informs your playing, by your understanding of the songs. And I think most accompanists make the great mistake of confining their practicing, and of course they practice very hard, no doubt, to difficult, so-called difficult accompaniments, such as Schubert's El König or Wolf's Feuerreiter. All these songs are difficult to play, but the songs which find you out are the songs which look simple and look ordinary. Now, I devote, if you'll forgive me for saying what I do, dash it, a tremendous lot of time to songs which look easy and which are very slow. Because the violinist, the cellist, the singer, they devote all their lives, all their working lives, to trying to cultivate a beautiful tone and a lovely legato line. This is the most difficult thing on the piano. I know that the piano makers have put a fairly good piano underneath your fingers, but you've got to get the tone out of it. And you can make your tone hard and ugly if you want to. And you must do this for certain types of songs and certain types of music. It must be steely and hard sometimes if the mood demands it. But the difficult thing which the piano maker cannot do for you is to make your playing legato, and you've got to work at this yourself. You listen to Arthur Rubinstein playing a slow cantabile melody, and you're not aware that the piano is a percussive instrument. It just floats from one note to another. This is entirely his art. Well, we should struggle hard to get this in our playing too, we accompanists. The singer can sing legato, we should learn to sing on our piano legato too. And it wants a lot of thought and a lot of very critical self-listening. And if ever any accompanist gets hold of what he thinks is a simple Schubert song and looks at it and says, "Oh, I haven't got to practice this, it's too easy," then he's not going to get anywhere. The accompanist must approach this song, this so-called easy song, with humility. And he mustn't expect to be able to raise his hands in the air and let them fall on the keyboard and for a miracle to happen, because it doesn't.